Hi, welcome to the Brief Book Reviews channel, otherwise known as An Old Guy Reviews the Book that he's read this week. So what's the old guy read this week? Well, it's October, isn't it? Days getting shorter, leaves are falling from the trees. Must be time for our annual dose of Reacher, surely. And sure enough it is. So the book I've read this week is called The Secret by author Lee Child and his brother Andrew Child. It's Jack Reacher 28, was released here in the UK as a hardback on the 24th of October 2023. So I guess I should preface this review by saying I've read every single one of the Reacher books and I'm a fan. I'll also preface the review by saying the last two Reacher books, No Plan B and Better Off Dead, wasn't quite so sure about them. The collaboration between Lee Child and Andrew Child I felt was a little bit off. In the earlier Reacher books, we had Reacher using his intuition, his knowledge of people and of things, and his ability to be observant, to notice things. And so it wasn't just brawn. And I felt in the last two Reacher books that it was too much brawn and not enough brain. Is this one any better? Well, the good news is, yeah, it's better. Maybe not as good as the early Reacher books, but it's a definite improvement on the last two Reacher books. So, all right, Cliff, what's it all about, I hear you say? Well, this book takes us back to 1992. Reacher's just been busted down from major to captain, and he's working on a small project as a military policeman where there's been some activity at a munitions depot, a military munitions depot, where some parts are being sold off to civilians illegally. He manages to finish that case and then gets a visit from a couple of MPs with some instructions to join a task force. He's not too happy about that. The task force has been officially, sanctioned by the Secretary of Defence. So this is coming right from the top, and he's wondering what on earth's going on here. The task force includes somebody from the Treasury, somebody from the FBI, somebody from the CIA, and Jack Reacher representing the Army. Not quite sure what's going on. Does a quick check on the other people in the task force, as you would expect, and finds that they're all could be considered dispensable. So Reacher's not too happy about this. A, he doesn't do interagency politics very well, and B, he feels like he's been set up for a fall. If the task force is successful, then great. If not, they're all dispensable. So what's the task force's objective? Well, it turns out Secretary of Defence is aware that some scientists that worked on a project in India in 1969, that one of them's died naturally of cancer. The other one has jumped out of a hospital window whilst receiving treatment. And the general feeling is that this isn't a suicide. There's something going wrong here. And it turns out that there were 8 people involved in a project working in a legitimate chemical factory called Mason Chemical Industries in India in 1969, when there was a terrible accident and there was a gas leak. And obviously there are similarities in real life with Bhopal and Union Carbide. So I guess there's some fact involved with this. So terrible accident, and it's covered up. It turns out there were 7 scientists involved in working on a project that were working for the US government in an entirely legitimate normal industrial plant. And clearly there's a secret involved with that, but there's also a secret within a secret, because whilst they were working on a defensive strategy against nerve agents, they were also working on an offensive strategy. Clearly, the powers that be want this hushed up, but the biggest problem at the moment is to find out what's happening to these scientists, because it appears like they're getting bumped off one by one. So the task force's task, if you will, is to identify the murderer or murderers and bring them to book quickly. There is an overhanging threat here. It's like the sword of Damocles, because whilst there are 7 scientists on the list that worked on this secret project, there's also an 8th person involved, and nobody knows who that person is. So the tale unfolds, and Reacher, as I said before, has got somewhat of a dilemma, because the normal Reacher method is to bash heads, so he's not entirely comfortable with working in an office with other agencies and doing things by the book. It's a very entertaining tale. As I said before, much better than the previous 2 Reacher books. Maybe not as good as some of the earlier ones, but nevertheless an entertaining tale for nostalgia addicts. Old gits like me, quite interested in this. This is set in 1992, so we're still talking about people sitting around waiting for faxes to come in on fax machines and using pages, etc. But I digress. So I'd give it 7 out of 10. It's a good, entertaining read. It's much better than the previous 2 Reacher books, as I said before. Maybe not as good as some of the earlier books, but at least I think there's hope for us Reacher fans out there. So that's it for today's brief book review. It's a good read, 323 pages, big font as well. So, I read this in a day. So that's it for this week's brief book review. 10/10 till we do it again. Thanks for watching. Bye.